Today we'll be taking a look at a big Bloodline related theory, some new Sonya Deville topics, how one WWE superstar is campaigning to join Marvel, and much more. Let's start things off with this brief Marvel story. WWE superstars being featured in superhero cinematic universes is something that we're starting to see more of. Batista had a big role as Drax in the MCU, The Rock will be joining DC as Black Adam, and John Cena is a part of DC as Peacemaker. It was even reported way back in early 2020 that Marvel allegedly had their eyes on Becky Lynch. Sonya Deville also made a little social media campaign for the role of Batwoman during mid-2020. Well, now, we have another WWE superstar starting up a social media campaign to join Marvel this time around. New casting reports came out claiming that Marvel is currently casting for Blade. The casting description reads, Blade is casting for a South Asian male, 20s to 30s. The actor must be open to training, although actors with fight experience are encouraged for the role. Character description. Though he's taken a vow of silence, his eyes tell us he has been through strife. So that was the casting call that was floating around online. WWE superstar Ali quoted the casting report on Twitter and said, "Hello Marvel Studios, I think you're looking for me. #Blade." Ali received a lot of support on the tweet, nearly 30,000 likes, and a majority of his fellow WWE superstars also retweeted that tweet to support him. So we'll have to see just how serious Ali is about actually pushing for a spot like this in the MCU. But it's always great to see wrestlers throw their name into the mix, because if anyone knows about portraying a character in hand-to-hand combat, it's definitely a pro wrestler. Now let's get into some Sonya Deville related topics involving some news and some fun theories. So out of all places, WWE's The Bump actually addressed the big plot hole with Sonya Deville and Naomi's story that we've been picking up for months. And that's of course the plot hole of, why isn't Adam Pearce, or a higher authority, stopping Sonya Deville from what she's doing to Naomi? Well, Adam Pearce was recently a guest on The Bump and tackled this question head on. He had this to say about that topic, quote, "I think what people have to understand is, as a WWE official, Sonya carries that same title. There isn't a hierarchy where one of us stands taller over the other. We look eye to eye in terms of these decisions. So I don't necessarily have the ability to step in and deal with what Sonya is doing, in terms of being able to do anything tangible about it or stop her, other than look her in the eye and tell her what I think about it. And I agree with a lot of what I see on social media. There's not a lot from a corporate, managerial, stature, structure that I can do about it. I know that will not appease anyone who feels the way they do about the treatment that Naomi is getting. But that's just the long and short of it." End quote. So this was basically common sense. Everyone sort of figured that Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville are equals. He can't overrule her, she can't overrule him. We get that. But the fact that he hasn't done much to stop it and just sort of sits around and lets it happen is also a bit weird. That basically paints him to be in a similar bad light as Sonya. Now, if Sonya had something over him, some blackmail or some dirt that she has over Pearce, and that's why he's not running to a higher authority about the Naomi situation, that's fine. That's understandable. But if Sonya doesn't have anything over him, why isn't he trying to be a good guy here and trying to get some help for the innocent Naomi? The fact that he continues to do nothing to truly help Naomi is just really concerning. So Pearce tried to cover that up by saying he's just an equal, he has no right to overrule her. That's okay, but it still doesn't cover up the plot hole of the whereabouts of the higher authority figures. Like we've been saying for a while, Sonya is flaunting her abuse of power on national television. Does Adam and Sonya's higher authority not watch the product to see what's going on? It's just strange. If you really think about that plot hole a lot while you watch the story unfold, it kind of drives you crazy, because where's the McMahons? Where's the higher authority to witness this? With the way that they continue to stay quiet on the Naomi situation, that sort of makes you assume that they must be in on it as well, because where's the help? So Adam Pearce explained why he can't do anything about it, but he didn't explain why his higher authority can't do anything about it. That's one massive plot hole that continues to stand over this storyline, but maybe the higher authority will step in towards the end when Sonya crosses the line. Speaking of Sonya Deville and how WWE superstars have been appearing on all different brands lately, how interesting would it be to see a proper Fire and Desire, Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose reunion in WWE? Mandy and Sonya had a massive breakup storyline in 2020, but they're back together now on social media, just posting several photo shoots and hanging out like best friends that they've been for years. But we truly never saw a reunion or much of an interaction between the two of them following that 2020 match. There was a point in mid-2021 that Sonya was booking really difficult opponents for Mandy Rose, and it was implied that Sonya was holding that grudge for SummerSlam 2020, and that's how she was getting Mandy back for that. But besides that, there was never much of any interaction between them on WWE television ever since. Sonya has continued to turn into an evil authority figure, while Mandy Rose is quite the evil figure herself over on NXT as Women's Champion. So maybe they can meet briefly in something like the Royal Rumble match, or eventually cross paths in another story, because it'll be interesting to see how they interact with each other after so much has changed for the both of them. The end of the Bloodline. With so much talk and rumors of us possibly being in the last few weeks of Roman's historic title reign, and how the Usos have been losing more and more matches lately as well, some are wondering if we could be reaching a fallout for the Bloodline. If the Usos drop their tag team titles, everyone knows how Roman Reigns would react to that. Roman nearly loses his mind when they lose non-title matches on SmackDown. So imagine his reaction if they lost those titles and embarrassed their family, because that's how Roman would look at it. He would see that as them embarrassing the family. The Usos have gotten off in recent months with all their big losses because Roman was busy dealing with Paul Heyman's situation. So Roman sort of brushed off those losses by the Usos back then because they weren't the biggest problem he was dealing with at the time. But with Heyman gone and no other distractions being in the way, the Usos shouldn't even think about what Roman's reaction would be to them dropping those titles. Better yet, what would Roman's reaction be to losing his own Universal title with his cousins being useless and being unsuccessful in helping him retain the title? So now, all three of them lost their titles and the Usos couldn't help Roman retain his. What would be the fallout of a circumstance like that? Would that be the deciding moment for Roman to dismantle the Bloodline? Another part of the discussion is who's going to turn on who first. Will the Usos strike first on Roman, or will Roman strike them first? So a big part of the split is going to be who makes that big first move. How would you like to see the Bloodline split unfold? Leave your comments below on all of today's stories. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.